I thought about making jokes here, and I decided against it.
How do you preach the liberation of the birth of Jesus to someone who found their child dead in the crib?
You're like, that's why I take this week off, Eric. That's why.
The podcast you're about to listen to may contain objectionable language, adult and or immature content, mentions of Jesus Christ, and unironic readings of holy Christian scriptures. If any of this is likely to offend you in a manner that you find less than enjoyable, maybe don't listen.
Hi, I'm Pastor Bob Schaefer.
And I'm Pastor Eric Damon. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to a Comedians with Pastors Talking Bible short take. We are putting out every week some slightly irreverent, maybe funny, maybe thought-provoking material, Bible commentary that we think you're going to enjoy every week. We are still discussing the gospel text from the Revised Common Lectionary, and we're still doing it with comedians.
But every other week, we drop the introductory banter with featured comedians, and we dive right into the scripture with our comic theologians.
I'm Abby Evans.
I'm Erick Williams.
Thanks for coming back this season.
Thanks for having us back.
What she said.
So we are going to start by laying out our cards here that our individual backgrounds play a really big role in how we understand stuff. Of course they do. And so it's important for you to know about Pastor Eric and me that we are both pastors in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, a tradition that confesses the Bible as the inspired Word of God and that it is the authoritative source and norm for our proclamation and our teaching, which just is a really fancy, churchy way of saying that we care about the Bible. We believe that it is true. We believe that it matters. But we also believe that the Bible isn't Jesus. It points us to Jesus and not the other way around.
And Eric and Abby, you are comedians we roped in to being regular contributors to this. And nodding is a wonderful podcast strategy. For those listening, they were aggressively nodding in agreement to being comedians roped into
We're
this
like,
task.
that's true. You don't need verbal affirmation on that. It's known. It's our bodies. People can hear our bodies, right?
You know, I turned 50 a couple of weeks ago, and I'm at the point where I'm concerned that you can hear my body when I nod. Mm-hmm.
But
I like that your body sounds like a higher pitched Tim Allen.
Whose doesn't? I mean, I imagine that Tim Allen's body sounds like a higher pitched Tim Allen.
mine sounds more like Lucy when she knows she's going to be in trouble. But with two pastors and two regular contributing comedians, I think we are ready as we preface our short takes to dive right into Bible readings.
All right, put on your swim caps because we are going to dive into the first Sunday of Christmas. And you thought that Christmas was just a single day. Oh, no, there are 12 days of Christmas, friends. And this is
not just a song.
It is not just a song. It's a way of life. There's a reason why pastors get cranky about everybody putting out the Christmas decorations and everything in November or something like that. Christmas is December 25th, the Feast of the Nativity, and then 12 days. So this is the first Sunday of Christmas, and it's December 28th, 2025. Our reading is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2. Now, after the magi had left, that's the wise men, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you. For Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother by night, and went to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I have called my son." When Herod saw that he had been tricked by the Magi, he was infuriated, and he sent and killed all the children in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he had learned from the Magi. Then what had been spoken through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled. A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be consoled, because they are no more. When Herod died, an angel of the Lord suddenly appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel, for those who were seeking the child's life are dead." Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was ruling in Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. And after being warned in a dream, he went away to the district of Galilee. There he made his home in a town called Nazareth, so that what had been spoken through the prophets might be fulfilled. He will be called a Nazarene.
So I'm never in church on this Sunday. I take this Sunday off for vacation every year. So I've never actually preached on the death of the Holy Innocents here, but I'm kind of preaching the slaughter of children has got to be a difficult one. I also do not hand this one off to a pulpit supply teacher. We do lessons and carols. So,
Okay.
You choose to leave the church for the week that you're supposed to talk about Jesus and Joseph leaving Egypt.
Right. Mm-hmm. But the more difficult part is the murdering of babies.
I was going to say
Jesus and Joseph going back to Israel from Egypt. That's not.
Look, I guess you don't hate travel
murder.
as much as I do.
I was going to say that part, like the part of this passion that I feel the most seen is Rachel weeping and refusing to be consoled.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What was actually going through my head was like, oh, it makes sense that the angel's like, yo, y'all need to get up and get out of Egypt, because historically this is a time period, correct me if I'm mistaken, where Caesar is defenestrating babies that could take power.
So what you have first is the angel tells Joseph you need to go to Egypt because Herod is going to come and kill all the babies.
Egypt is where you are going to take refuge.
Yeah, so they go to Egypt, and then after all the people killing the babies have died, the angel comes and says, you can now go back all clear.
I don't remember this part in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor.
Different
This
Joseph.
is a different Joseph.
Yes,
okay,
yep.
I wanted to double check because that always really confused me when I was
Both dreaming, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a couple thousand years difference there.
Okay. The Andrew Lloyd Webber one is Old Testament.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Cool.
Yep.
Wait, Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat isn't about.
Yeah, that tripped me out when I found
Mary's
that out
husband,
too.
Joseph.
No.
Nope.
Two very different Josephs.
Donny Osmond never. No.
I'm enjoying watching you have this revelation.
I was gonna say I am making a absolutely disbelief face. Like my mind is just blown.
Jesus.
Call me Bill Clinton.
Hey, Bubba. Jesus was a part of that family, but not for a lot of generations afterwards.
Okay, we've got some Game of Thrones stuff going on here where it's like, well, yeah, there was a Bran, but not that Bran.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Quite a lot of time has gone past since the Joseph that brought them to Egypt. There's overlaps. They are not the same, but they are over. It's kind of like Martin Luther and Martin Luther King. They are not the same person, but you can find similarities if you look hard enough.
Yes. And actually, this is a really important point because Matthew, as a gospel writer, as he tells his story about Jesus, one of the things that he is very interested in is making connections to the Hebrew scriptures. He really wants people to see how Jesus and the movement that has developed around Jesus, the convictions people have about Jesus, that they aren't out of nowhere, that they are contiguous with the faith of his people, of the Jewish people. So he does more than any of the gospel writers. He is making callbacks to the Hebrew scriptures, to the Old Testament. He is showing how this thing that was written back then has been fulfilled in Jesus over and over again. You saw that in this reading here. And the story about Israel being in Egypt, the whole Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, how they came to be in Egypt and then spent a long time there, which eventually leads us to the Exodus with Moses leading the people out. That is like very much in Matthew's mind. So you have gotten your Josephs confused, but it actually is in a helpful way.
Yeah, that was my plan all along.
You are just that
It's
freaking
like-
brilliant.
It's, it's kind of like the Stegosaurus and the T-Rex, like in our puny little human minds. They just like lived in Jurassic Park together, but no, it's actually further. Like the time the Stegosaurus lived to the time the T-Rex lived is further from like when the
my
T-Rex
God.
lived to now.
So,
But this is a Bible podcast. What am I doing talking about fucking dinosaurs for?
so the Stegosaurus and the T-Rex
Haven't you
are
seen-
like Joseph and Joseph.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you think they're the same time. Very different times.
One of them was more fabulous than the other.
Which one was more fabulous, and how are you defining fabulous?
Well, I mean, I
how
feel,
you define fabulous is going to pick which one is more
I
fabulous.
feel like if the T-Rex was the one who was very fabulously decked out, that his coat had very short sleeves.
Okay. I think if we're using fabulous in like the post 90s definition of fabulous, then Joseph of the Dreamcoat is more fabulous.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But then it becomes, is the Stegosaurus or the T-Rex more like fabulous Joseph in his dream coat?
Also, serious question: if you guys,
if we might remember, I'm on vacation for this one.
if you guys know the answer, who is ruling Egypt at this point? Is it the Romans?
So I
I do not have a definitive answer for that, but it's
I believe the Egyptian Empire has just come to an end because it ends when Augustus kills Cleopatra and defenestrates Caesar Julius Jr.
I think that is right, that you've got basically, you might say puppet governments. They're not, they're client governments in Jerusalem and Egypt. This is who Herod is. He is formally, officially king in Jerusalem, but he is a client of Rome, and everyone knows that. But that makes him dangerous in a way. He is really protective of his power, such as it is, and that is at the heart of this story, that he sees this child, this is the wise men story, or not the wise men story, who the three kings who come from afar, and they are following the star that appeared in the sky, and they happen into the royal court in Jerusalem because, of course, that would be where this child, a royal child, would be born. And Herod's like, huh? No baby's been born here. And it becomes quickly apparent that this is not a child born to Herod. It is a royal child someplace else. And he sends them, go find this child for me, because I want to worship him. Yeah, that's right. I want to come and worship him. When you find him, come back and tell me so I can worship him. And this is where they tricked him. When he finds out that they did not come back, they went back by a different way, and they did not tell him where they found this child, then how is he going to deal with this usurper? And his answer is, well, at this point, about 2 years since the star went up have passed, or at least that's a good margin of error, right? So if we just kill all the kids in the region in that age range, we should be good. We'll get them.
Got you. So Rachel's children got worshipped.
No.
No?
The Rachel weeping for the children is a reference back to previous scriptures to describe to them the mourning that happened in the region because all of the babies were killed.
Yeah, worshipped.
Oh, yeah. Worshipped right out of existence.
Worship. Yeah. Right.
I am making quotes because that's what Bob said when he said Harold was like, I'm going to worship Jesus.
I got you there. That was a good callback.
That was so good, no one got it.
We did get it just after it was laid out for us point by point. It was more of an exegetical joke.
There's like 3 pastors who are laughing at that. Everyone else is like, what? What word for ejaculation did he just say?
Yep.
But so, I mean, before we get into, the real problematic thing of this is just generally the 2 years is the proof text that you use to say that every single Christmas pageant in every church with the 3 wise men and Mary and Joseph and the little drummer boy, and it's all wrong because the wise men definitely are somewhere around 2 years after Jesus is born. They don't show up on the night of his birth.
You have been lied to all this time.
Wait, are you telling me that a story based on history wasn't actually correct and that the time was changed to make it feel better?
I am telling you even more that the story they tell based on the story that we have, they didn't get that right.
Yeah,
That's
the story that we have.
Shocked.
The story that we have does not put the wise men there on the night of Christmas. And so this nativity set that I was looking over here, because we've got the whole nativity set on the shelves here in the room where we are recording. And those wise men down on the bottom shelf, they did not show up until.
Well, Christmas didn't even happen on Christmas, so they're getting that right off the bat.
Well, I mean, by definition, it did happen on Christmas.
It happened on Christmas, but not on December 25th.
There you
It
go.
was
probably
like
not
April,
that time of year.
Yeah.
But it did happen. There was the time Jesus was born, and in the story there were shepherds there. There were not magi. They show up based on, we don't get a time, but based on the fact that Herod says we got to kill all the babies under 2 years, somewhere 2 years later.
I liked how Bob clarified that was wise men. So like I wasn't like, man, this is a weird version of Dungeons and Dragons you guys are playing.
Well, I mean, that is not like totally a wrong sort of a thing to assume. I mean, these are people who were astrologers, astronomers. The line between those things was kind of blurry for most of history. People who watched the stars, who interpreted the events they saw in the skies. They might have been practicers of some form of magic or another.
Science-based people were granola chewers in this era.
Yeah. I mean, it is all kind of
Eric's
a mix
nodding.
I nodded aggressively.
aggressively. And it makes sense when you think about the timeline. The star is the herald of the birth of this child. It appears when the child is born, and they are in a country, a different country. So
The star
here we
is
are
the
in
herald, not the Herod.
Yeah. We are here in Pennsylvania. You see a weird thing in the sky up to the north. How long is it going to take you guys to walk over to Canada to find out what's going on over there?
I mean, I'll probably just walk over to Beaver because it's probably the Coke plant.
That opening scene of Life of Brian makes so much sense now. Like, of course they had the wrong fucking cow.
It was a long one. They got close.
They got really close.
Yes.
It's a fair mistake.
I mean, they basically got it right. I mean, when you talk about margin of error, they were 100% right on. Yes. It was a rounding
Can
error.
I just say, after knowing that, I may have told the story on this podcast before, but in kindergarten, I promise it'll be brief, but in kindergarten and CCD, when we were doing our little nativity play, I very distinctly remember playing a lamb because no one else wanted to be the lamb, so I volunteered to be the lamb, but my CCD teacher, who was also my neighbor, I don't know if she's misremembering it or if she's just exaggerating this, but like she always likes to tell that story every single year about how I volunteered to be the lamb, but she always says I volunteered to be Jesus. And now that I know that, I don't know why, but I feel like we know for a fact a shepherd was there, but the 3 wise men weren't there. I feel like the fact that I volunteered to be a lamb is somehow more like
More accurate.
Accurate, yeah. Because first of all, I've never seen a nativity play where like an actual kid played Jesus, but like those three wise men can get fucked. It was the lamb that is the real center. That is the real center.
Also, an ignorant person talking here, isn't Jesus the Lamb of God?
You're right. I
is
did
the Lamb of
technically volunteer to be Jesus, so she's not that far off. I think, you know what? I think if she ever brings it up, I'm gonna be like, yeah.
If you were,
You're like, that's
you
not the lamb I was volunteering for.
if you volunteered to be a lamb that also was kind of a lion, that like those old hologram cards that you tilt and they do. If that's what you were dead on.
Yeah, dead on. I was like, oh, you mean like an actual lamb, not like lamb. I mean, I volunteered to be this too. That's cool.
Lenticular lenses. That's what was on those cards. Lenticular lenses.
Okay.
I believe you.
I think you're just making up words, Bob. That's not a real thing.
I leave it to you to decide if I am making things up or not. Sometimes I just like to show that I know things because I'm just showy-offy that way. No. Here's something I do know that we were talking about how Matthew is drawing on the Old Testament. And one of the things that he is really keen to do, I wrote like a whole paper on this once, is to show how Jesus is greater than Moses. So, I mean, like last short take, we were talking about how was Jesus greater than John the Baptist or not? We'll leave that in the past. But here Matthew is really very concerned to basically take the story of Moses and to demonstrate how at every step along the way, Jesus is greater than Moses. Moses has a birth where he is kind of a miracle. In that sense, in that story, you've got Pharaoh killing a whole bunch of children, and Moses miraculously gets away because of the courage of the Hebrew midwives. And here you've got Jesus, who is born miraculously by an act of God. He's greater than Moses. You had Pharaoh, a ruler, jealous and killing a bunch of children. Here you've got Herod, who is killing a bunch of children. Again, it's echoes of the Exodus story. In Exodus, you have the Hebrew people who are taking shelter in Egypt, and then they eventually become enslaved, and Moses leads them out. Here you have Jesus, who is under threat, and he retreats with his family to Egypt, where they are illegal immigrants, and it should be named. And then God leads them out.
Undocumented immigrants.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But in the context of this, they might actually
have been illegal.
Yeah.
As in the last episode, we talked about mapping first century stuff onto economic models. Immigration models of the first century do not map onto our time. It is, in order to make the point, calling them they are refugees. Calling them illegal immigrants is a thing that has become popular amongst certain clergy because it makes a point, but it is not a technically accurate description because just our means of covering national immigration things was just not a thing that existed in the time.
It's spiritually accurate.
There is a point to be made in that. I prefer refugee makes the point while being more accurate that they were refugees.
I accept your correction and clarification.
Yeah.
Bob was talking about how Matthew is emphasizing Jesus' superiority to Moses, and I was thinking Moses gave everyone gefilte fish, and Jesus just gave people fish. Jesus is superior.
Jesus just multiplied whatever fish were there. Yeah. And
I don't think it was gefilte fish because that would have been a mentioned part of the story. I'm guessing you have. Have you gentlemen ever had gefilte fish?
I was invited by my friend Rabbi Barbara Simons and her husband Rabbi Ron Simons to join them at Passover one year, and I did in fact get to enjoy gefilte fish.
Okay, Bob, respectfully, you just told me a lie because you said you enjoyed gefilte fish.
And you're going to say
no one enjoys gefilte fish. They eat it as part of the ritual.
All right, so I enjoyed the company of the people I was with while I had gefilte fish.
Okay, Passover is fantastic. I grew up going to a Unitarian church, and my godparents are Jewish. Every year there would be a Passover ceremony at our church that I would go to, which is kind of a weird statement. I feel like I went to Passover at a church, but yeah, the apple and honey mixture, fantastic. The fresh horseradish, whoo, it'll wake you up, fantastic. The gefilte fish, I remember it.
Remember that time you tried to juice-plain Passover to Abigail Elias? We're getting off topic.
Well, no, I mean, because again, the Passover story is the story that Matthew is echoing, right? Yeah. I mean, this is the Passover, the Exodus, it's all there, and we should be watching for that. So we are going into a season now where we're going to be reading a lot of Matthew, and so we're going to be living with this gospel for the whole season 3, basically, and it's good to be watching for the places where the Hebrew scriptures are lined up that way.
And even for this Sunday, it's a helpful fence, I guess, to put around how you preach this. One of the dangers is Jesus is saved by God in this passage. All the other babies are killed. That is a dangerous road to go down theologically in preaching to folks that well, of course, the Jesus story is going to move forward, but your baby and someone else's baby may not be important to that. I mean, it is I'm stumbling. That's why I don't like to preach this one because
how do we deal with grief?
Well, it's not just how do you deal with grief. It's how do you preach the good news of liberation and salvation into a world where not everyone will have that experience in their life. How do you preach the liberation of the birth of Jesus to someone who found their child dead in the crib?
I thought about making jokes here, and I decided against it.
I mean, the slaughter of
You're
the
like,
innocents.
that's why I take this week off, Eric. That's why.
The slaughter of the innocents is a prickly passage to preach, because it is the demonstration of Jesus doing something in the world that even Moses, even the story of God's liberation of God's people from Egypt in the past, was not able to do. And it spells out in a way that even Exodus doesn't, that not everybody made it out. And which is the real world we live in. I mean, we cannot preach a message into a world that doesn't acknowledge that Auschwitz existed. But man, it's hard to be good and cheerful on the first Sunday of Christmas while preaching that Auschwitz existed.
And maybe that's the tension that we have to live with, but that the good news is that Jesus has entered into that, and that even though his coming brings a lot of animosity and a lot of resistance, especially from the powerful, but also from us, there's a cost of what happened in the Christ event, and we lose track of that at our own peril. But it is good news that Jesus bore the price that he bore, and ultimately that the wrong that was done will be made right in Jesus. And that is that can be really cold comfort for the person who has lost the child, right? Rachel is wailing and she's not going to be consoled. Yeah. But I think our hope is that someday she will be consoled.
And I think you just named the fact that she will not be consoled is too often we want this message to be able to console her. Mm-hmm. And there is not a message that we can preach that consoles the mother at that point in time. And that's an important nature of the message to keep in mind, that when someone is suffering that loss, there's not but it'll be okay.
You just have to sit through the storm.
You are not going to be consolable right now.
Yeah. Hey, look, my kid is going to be sacrificed eventually. That's why your kid got sacrificed now isn't the message that needs to be heard.
Yeah, there is no there's no buck up to this. There is the pain of that moment for every mother that lost a child when Herod went and killed them. It was real pain that they could not be consoled from. They lost their children.
Herod, not Harold.
That's right. Harold's the crayon guy.
I thought it was the star.
Purple crayon.
Something that I work on with my kids at school, and I don't know if this has ever come up, but when I'm not telling jokes on stage, I work in special education. But something that like we've kind of started adapting into the lessons at school is mindfulness and meditation and mindful breathing with the kids. And anytime it's my turn to find like a guided meditation YouTube video, I try to stay away from anything that's overtly toxic, like any sort of toxic positivity. Like I try to lean, like there was one the other day that was just weather the storm, get through the storm, because I don't think we're doing anyone, particularly kids, any favors if we try to console someone or try to bring positivity or joy into a situation where there's just none. Because sometimes the most you can do for that person is to just sit through it with them and just wait for the storm to pass, which maybe isn't like the best, isn't good news, but it's news.
And so for all the preachers that are preaching this Sunday, preach the unconsolable as everyone celebrates their Christmas vacation. Good luck.
I like it.
That's where we're going to leave it. So I realize last episode we recorded, we did not give you guys a chance to tell us what you got coming up and what your socials are and all of that good stuff. So this is going into the new year, basically.
So we will be in the Galapagos when this episode goes live. So hope you fucks are enjoying your snow. But January 17th, check me out at Needle and Bean in Mount Lebanon. There will be a lineup by the time that this episode goes out.
January 28th, I'm bringing Tim Cornette. January 31st, sorry, I am bringing Tim Cornette to Ernie B's Rock and Roll Barbershop in Edna. Tickets will be available. You can follow me at Comical Edubs on Instagram and at Conspiracy on YouTube.
Abby, what's your socials?
It's Abby E on all platforms. Also follow The Moon Show on Instagram because we've got more shows coming up in the new year.
Right.
And we are at CPTB Pod, at CPTB POD. Find us on all of the places except Truth Social. We're not there. And thank you to everybody out there who is still listening to us. If you were offended, we're sorry as always.
Yeah, but if you're still listening, you did it to yourself once again. We are not in any way, shape, or form sorry.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Look, you are still here, right? You are still here. All right, so do us a favor, like us at CPTB Pod, all the places. Share us with your friends, your families, anybody you think will like us.
Create a bot that'll keep downloading it. We'll take the links.
Or just download a bot that you found. Somebody else made it. It's all good. We will be back next week with more funny and more God.
Until then, may the Holy Spirit do her thing in your life.